Hey guys. Okay, so before I start, tell me, can you hear me? That is the most important thing right now. You can see me and you can hear me, right? Just let me know in the chat. Wonderful. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me for my first live stream. I'm so excited to do this. I was so concerned with my whole setup and making sure that this works. But yeah, so today I actually want to talk about a topic for a bit, and then I also want to do some Q&A with you guys. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of planning questions. But I want to start off first with a topic that I think is kind of interesting. I've been talking about with a few of my friends, and it's what are the things in Disney World that you appreciate more now as an adult that you didn't really as a kid? And I have a few on my list, so I'll start off with that. But of course, I want to hear also, you know, what you guys think, what you guys love more now than you did when you were younger. So the first thing that I really hated as a child, but really, really love now that I'm older, is the Hall of Presidents. I thought it was super boring when I was a kid and didn't care, didn't want to do it, skipped it for years. I actually went for the first time, believe it or not, with Rob and his family. My mom was really mad because she wanted to go with me, but I ended up going with Rob and his mom. It was a whole thing. But I went back again as an adult recently, a couple of trips ago, and I just really loved it. I think it hit me on a more emotional level than I think I understood as a kid, of like the importance of our government. And I know, you know, right now we feel a little weird about our government, but just the whole importance of this role as a president and representing the country. And kind of seeing all of the presidents there on stage. I don't know. It like really got to me in a way that as a kid I just never appreciated. So yeah. Riley says, I like the Hall of Presidents before Donald Trump gets into it. Well, he's not there yet. It's still closed, so we'll see what's gonna happen with that. Another thing that I actually didn't really love as a kid, but I love now, is Epcot as a whole. It's my favorite park now. I think it's amazing. I love spending time in World Showcase. I love what Future World was supposed to be, you know, especially looking at it back from like an 80s perspective. But I hated it as a kid. I thought it was so boring. I just wanted to get on rides. It didn't have enough rides for me. I didn't care about the countries. All I cared about was like the fireworks. But I really love Epcot now, and I think I appreciate it, especially as someone who travels now internationally. I really, really appreciate the countries and like how well they're done and just all of that. So Rob says, watching the random shows for me when I was a kid, I thought they were a waste of time and that we needed to get to the next ride. Now I love watching the bands play and the musical acts. I totally agree. That's something that he and I have done a lot together. I specifically now make time at Epcot to see like Voices of Liberty. Like I actually check the times for entertainment, which I have never done before. So I can actually go catch Dabber Dan's or the band or whatever. So Keenan says, a big one for me is the Carousel of Progress. I used to think it was so boring. Yeah, me too. I love it so much now, as you guys know, and we always sign off on the TTA podcast with Have a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. But when I was a kid, I think I went on it maybe once or twice. Like, they could not drag me on that ride at all. Oakview Film says, as a kid, I thought The People Mover was boring. As an adult, it's one of my faves. I liked it as a kid. I guess I was a weird kid. I guess I just like seeing the inside of Space Mountain. But it's very relaxing now as an adult. That's like my, okay, I need, you know, 10 minutes to chill a little bit and slow down. Another one that I did not like at all as a kid that you had to drag me kicking and screaming on was Small Worlds. I hated it. I thought it was just torture. I know some people still do. Now I appreciate it for the history behind it and how it debuted at the World's Fair and what it's supposed to be. After seeing Disneyland's version, it was nice to see a different version, to see the characters in it. I'm excited to see the Hong Kong Disneyland version. And I actually go on it a lot more now than I used to, so. Courtney says the atmosphere for sure. I had about 6 years between trips growing up, and just walking down Main Street for the first time as a teenager and seeing the architecture and performers was just so magical. Yeah, I think when you're a kid, you just want to get to Splash Mountain, right? Or you just want to rush to Space Mountain and get on that. And I think when you're older, you learn how to slow down and like enjoy where you are a little bit more. I totally agree. Jennifer says, I've only visited WDW as an adult, so, well, is there anything, Jennifer, that you didn't love the first time and love more now? I mean, you know, it could be only within a couple of years that maybe something has changed your mind, so. Steven says, for me, going to Disney World as a kid frequently, and being able to go as an adult and having to pay for the trip is massively appreciated. Yeah, it was really nice when you were a kid and you didn't have to pay for anything. Especially because prices are just going up now. But it makes me appreciate what my parents went through to save money to be able to go back, you know. Yeah, I get it. Courtney says, I also really grew to appreciate and love the Great Movie Ride as a teenager. I was terrified of it as a kid, but going on again, actually appreciate the actor performance sold me on the ride. I think I always liked the Great Movie Ride because it had so many movies that I loved when I was younger. But I agree that I don't think I appreciate what the cast members do and how much they have to memorize just to like get you through that ride. It's kind of insane, the script that they have to memorize and the timing. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Susan, hey Susan, says I also didn't get to go until we were an adult. We are now Disney addicts. Keenan says Pirates was the scariest thing in the world when you were a kid. Really? What part of it scared you? That's what I'm interested in. Was it the ship shooting the cannons? As a kid, I wanted to be all by myself in the parks. Now family is the most magic part. Oh, that's really sweet, Aiden. Yeah, I think, you know, when you're a kid, you just want to go off and do your own thing and don't want to be with your parents and, you know, want the day to go your own way. But I appreciate the time that I spend with people, though. I also appreciate my solo time, which you guys know, which I guess is kind of living the life I wanted as a kid. I don't know. Courtney says, another thing I wouldn't do was as a teen was Fantasmic, but I'm so glad for this. I sure would have hated it as a kid if I did it. I can't remember how old I was when Fantasmic came out. I think I want to say that I was in my 20s, so maybe I was too old already to, like, you know, have that experience as a kid. I don't know. I think it's an interesting point because I think Fantasmic is to me a little bit more kid-driven than it is adult-driven. I think I've kind of personally gotten over it in the last few years, but that's interesting. Riley says, one ride I still haven't appreciated is Stitch's Great Escape. I will never learn to appreciate that ride. And you don't have to, because they're closing it for good, you guys. And I am so happy. I'm just going to dance. Every time we go through Tomorrowland on our next trip, I am just going to dance past it. Rob says, I appreciate the hotels more now. The Contemporary was always cool, but otherwise they were all just places to sleep between park days, and now I love the themes. And I know you also love the carpet smell, so that's important as well. Jake says, I appreciate the World Showcase. Yeah, totally agree. That's what I was saying before, and I think the more you travel, the more you appreciate it, because you realize how perfectly matched it is. Like, when I went to Morocco, actually went to Morocco, and then I came back like 2 weeks later and then went to Disney because I'm crazy. I fell even more in love with the Moroccan Pavilion because it felt like I was back there, and I never really appreciated how like perfectly it reflects what the country is really like until I went. And then talking to the people there who are from, you know, the different cities in Morocco, and then getting to talk to them about how I had just been there. Like, if you want to, like, make a cast member's day in Epcot, if you've been to Italy for real, go to Italy and talk to them about Italy. If you've been to France, go to the cast members, talk about France. Like, they love to talk about their country, and they get excited when they find out that people have been there. So I highly recommend it. If you can take some time to talk to a cast member, you will make their day. If you say like, hey, I just went to Germany and it was amazing and this is what I did, you know, they love to talk about that stuff. Courtney says, my sisters and I weren't fans of loud noises or explosions of fireworks as kids. A lot of things were breezed through for us. I think that's a really common fear for kids. I was okay with them, but I had a lot of friends, like, that was a bit frightening. I think my brother was a little bit frightened when he was little too, so that's pretty common. Also, now what I didn't appreciate as a kid, Downtown Disney now Springs from Oakview. Yeah, I realize my next trip is going to have a lot of Disney Springs in it, unintentionally, but it was kind of like we're doing the Star Wars VR thing, and we figured we should go to Edison because it's opening up, and there's all these other bars and restaurants opening up, and then we wanted to, well, I wanted to take Rob to Homecoming because that fried chicken, so we might be back there another night, and it's weird how it's just kind of like gotten into my plans unintentionally, but I think also as an adult you appreciate it more. You can go to a lot of these cool bars and stuff, like Jack Lindsay's and all of that, but I really like Disney Springs, especially at night. I think it's like beautiful. Courtney says, I also appreciate the dining services now. One major difference between childhood trips and adult trips is that I'm gluten-free now. That staff works so hard to make sure I can eat. So cool of them. I 100% agree. Now that I've recently, and this is something I've talked about before briefly, about a year and a half ago, I found out that I'm allergic to red meat. So I can't eat beef, pork, or lamb. And I try to avoid anything that's cooked in it or, you know, juices or anything like that. They are so good. They are so good about knowing everything that's on a menu, about making sure that you're comfortable with what you're having, about finding alternatives. They will make things differently for you. And this doesn't matter if it's, you know, quick service or a sit-down table service. Like, across the board, they will help you. And on that note, just a tip, every single place, quick service, table service, what have you, has an allergy menu. So if someone in your family is allergic to nuts, someone in your family has to be gluten-free, you can ask for this menu, and it covers most of the major allergies, so you'll know exactly what you can eat, and it's brilliant, and they're super helpful. Yeah, definitely something I never appreciated either until I needed it, and it's really, really awesome. Jamie's asking, Christine and Rob, when do you think Disney Hollywood Studios will change its name? Do you think it'll be before or after Toy Story Land? I would love to hear your opinions. Yeah, so let's go into some Q&A. So we can go off this topic if you want to and get into some planning questions, park questions. I don't know if they will. I feel like if they do, it's going to be a little while. They could, with the new Fox acquisition, add something in there. They could change. I mean, we know they did that survey where they were going to change it to, I don't know, they were really lame names. Like, I just think that it was like super lame names. I'd rather it say Hollywood Studios. I get why they're changing it, but I don't like what the proposed names were. I think it's going to be after Star Wars Land, after Galaxy's Edge. It's going to take a lot of time to have to switch over all of the merch and all of the promotional stuff that they have to do, so. Hey, Rainbow Loomer, are you in Disney right now? I am so jealous. So jealous. I have like, I don't even know how many days, 30 something until my trip. Really jealous. Keenan says, do you think Disney will ever become an IP park? And if so, would you still go to it? Like, you mean, oh, I see, full on IP. I hope not. I think not. I think it would alienate too many people that go. Do you think we're gradually getting there with certain things? That said, as long as a ride is built well, as long as it still has that magic, as long as it still does something new and interesting, I'll ride it, you know. I'm totally okay with some of the IPs that are coming to Epcot. I'm one of those people that's cool with it. I'm cool with the change, guys. So I think as long as it isn't just like we turn around and everything's an IP, because then it just kind of feels like Universal Studios, which isn't my thing. So Pixie says, do you think The Simpsons will be more of a family show or stay the same? I think Disney isn't going to touch anything that is as it is now and as successful as it is now. People are like worried about like Deadpool. Like, oh, now that Disney bought Fox, Deadpool is going to become like a PG movie. They're not going to do that. If you look at the history of Disney, they had Touchstone Pictures where they were able to put out more adult R-rated films, and that was under their umbrella, and they still did it. They're not going to change the formula, I think, of something that is successful as it is. There would be so much outrage if you changed The Simpsons or Deadpool or anything like that. So I think that's all going to be the same. Any advice for someone going on the 23rd? Should be pretty busy, from Daffy Stardust. I assume you mean for this month. And yes, it's going to be really busy. You know, I tend to avoid big holidays, but I have been stuck in some huge crowds before, despite not being a holiday. My advice is this. Go with an open mind. Expect that you won't get on everything you want to get on that you normally would on a slower day. Find your patience. Like, find your inner zen, because I do remember that there was a time when I went in September. It was very hot, very crowded. People were getting very irritated, and I saw some, like, minor arguments break out between complete strangers, and I think you just need to find your patience for the day. Take your midday breaks. Do whatever you need to do to kind of, like, just get yourself in a calm and collected space, because it's really easy to get agitated, or it's really easy to just go, oh, this sucks and I don't want to deal with this. You know, take your time. Expect you won't get to go on all the rides you want to go on, and take your breaks so you can just kind of like chill. Got a lot of conversation going on about Bob Iger and Deadpool. Riley says, what do you think the best part of the year is? What do you think the best part of the year is to go to Disney? That's always changing. I think Disney now doesn't really have a downtime as much anymore. I still think the best times, crowd-wise, weather-wise, is January, February. If you are avoiding the marathons, if you are avoiding like Martin Luther King weekend and President's weekend, because those are naturally going to be busy, it's still pretty good. The weather's nice. Can't guarantee you'll be like swimming in the pool, but like you'll be comfortable, like low 70s. And generally the crowds are a lot easier to deal with. I also find that like there's a certain part of like late April, early May, that's pretty good, as long as Easter doesn't fall in late April. I find there's like a little sweet spot at the end of spring before summer actually starts that tends to be pretty low-key, so. Jake says, I'm finally trying to go to Disneyland this August. I hope you can go. It's really awesome. As someone who's been to Disney World, God, I don't know, 15, 16 times now, and I only went to Disneyland once. It is really great to appreciate as Walt's Park and where it all began, and I really want to go back. And then watching Rob's vlogs made me want to go back, because I was kind of supposed to be on that trip. I was considering going on that trip, but I just couldn't do it, and then now I'm just really jealous, so... Steven says, what ride are you afraid is going to be changed or moved in the near future? Afraid, like, do I really enjoy and I think that they're gonna do something with, I mean, I guess Muppet Vision 3D, I'm not afraid. I accept the fact that if they change it, they change it. I kind of think it needs to go or be updated or something, but there's still a nostalgia that I love for it, so I'll be a little sad if it disappears. Not as sad as I was about Great Movie Ride, but I'll be a little sad. Keenan says, wait, Christine, have you been on Goth Mission Breakout yet? Oh, GOTG. I bet you were, like, calling it Goth as, like, a joke. Now I'm just going to call it Goth Mission Breakout all the time. No, I have not been on it. The last time I went to Disneyland was 2015, so the idea wasn't even happening yet, so... Lynn says, what are you most excited about for Hong Kong Disneyland? Mystic Manor, because it has been super, like, overhyped, so it better be everything that people say it is. But I've just heard it's just, like, such a cool experience. The soundtrack was written by Danny Elfman, so I hear, like, the music's awesome, and you fall in love with the main character who's, like, a little monkey, and I love monkeys. I love monkeys. So I'm already sold on that. I'm probably going to want to buy all, like, the monkey plush and merch and stuff afterwards. I'm also just excited to see what a different culture's take on Disney is. You know, I think it's going to be super just different. There's going to be definitely things that are similar and feel comfortable, but I think there's definitely going to be things that are going to be really different, and I'm excited to see that. Those country bears, yep, those country bears. Pixie, my advice for you, I don't know if you're getting sick when you're there, or if you just happen to get sick before you go there. Hand sanitizer, guys, just always have hand sanitizer. It's so hard when you have this many people in a small amount of space. Getting sick is so easy. You know, it's like when you go on a cruise, they tell you to be careful, wash your hands all the time because there's a spread of norovirus, which is like a terrible stomach flu, because there's so many people on a boat that are all together, right? And Disney's like the next biggest like place to like get something like that, because you've got so many people in these parks touching railings and touching everything that you're touching. And wash your hands, get that hand sanitizer. I wash my hands like a crazy person when I'm there. Any restaurants you want to go to that you have never been to? You know, we just did that episode of the TTA where we talked about like our top restaurants outside of the parks. And one of the ones that people came back with and their answers was Sanaa. And a lot of the other places, and Boma, you know, the other places at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So I really need to get there. I've heard about these restaurants for years. I've just never taken the trip because I feel like getting to Animal Kingdom Lodge, if you're not staying there, is kind of a pain. Maybe I'll have to just stay there this year sometime. I was also saying that to Rob the other day. I was like, I kind of want to, this year, stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, even if it's just for a couple of nights. And maybe that'll be an excuse. I'll be like, well, I gotta eat the restaurants, and it's so much easier if I'm just there, so. Random Disney guy says, what would you like from other worldwide parks and California to be taken to Disney World? I wish we had Radiator Springs Racers. I like Test Track, don't get me wrong, but I think Radiator Springs Racers, God, that's so hard to say, is such a better ride. Maybe we build a new Cars Land, maybe we just smush it in somewhere. I just really want that ride. Courtney says, in the vein of the Country Bears discussion, do you think Disney would ever consider adding a new animatronic show to the parks, or do you think they're a dying form of entertainment? I mean, when you think about it, like the Frozen ride, those are animatronics. they just have the projections on their faces, which look really cool. And then look at, I don't know if you've been to Pandora yet, but Navi River Journey, which I love, has the shaman, which is like the most advanced animatronic they've ever made. So I think, even though it's advanced and you're almost like, that's practically a robot, like that's probably where it's going. But when you think about it, that's an evolution of animatronics, right? So maybe we're just gonna have creepy robot characters everywhere. Keenan says, if you could go to Disney World but only be able to go to one park, which park would you choose and why? Oh, that's tough. That's so tough. Even though Epcot is my favorite park, I think I would say Magic Kingdom. And the reason I would say that is because Magic Kingdom still gives me that overall, like, the quintessential feeling of being in Disney World. Seeing the castle, riding the classic rides, walking down Main Street, hearing the train. I think I would want all of that. Thank God nobody is barring me from going to the other parks on my next trip, or I would cry. Riley says, do you like Dumbo the Flying Elephant? My cousin says that it's only a kid ride. I love those kinds of rides. I mean, Dumbo is, Aladdin's Magic Carpets is the Astro Orbiters. They're kind of all the same. But I enjoy those rides. I think, yes, they're kind of marketed for kids, but I've definitely jumped on them before. Note to self, though, or note to you guys, don't jump on Astro Orbiters as two adults in one little shuttle. Rob and I did it, and it was the worst decision we could ever make. So don't do it. Steven says, biggest disagreement you and Rob currently have about Disney or the parks? I don't know. I think we're both pretty on the same, we're like pretty much on the same level with like being open to new changes. Oh, jeez. I don't really know. I guess I'm more obsessed with the Illuminations than he is. Like, he likes it, but I think he's over it as a fireworks show, and I still would watch it like every time I'm down there. I don't know. I think we're kind of on the same wavelength though for a lot of things. I'm going to be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes, so shoot me any other questions you might have last minute. Courtney says, talking about animatronics is a fair point. I guess I meant something more like a new Carousel of Progress rather than having advanced animatronics. Yeah, I mean, in that way, I think we're over it. I think we're past it. I think Disney's just going to build on what an animatronic is and make it better and better and better. I don't think that they're going to put out a new ride that's more of a classic animatronic ride. Lynn says, what attraction would you most want to work at? Ooh, okay, this is pretty easy, and it would probably be Tower of Terror. And the reason is because I just love how in character the cast members get, and I would love to work the actual elevator. I would do everything I could to just creep people out and do like a totally straight face and like play with people 100%. That's totally my vibe. Andrew, no! He says, how much would it cost to eat at Cosmic Rays every day? Don't you fall into this trap of Rob's dumb questions, okay? Every day for what, a year? 2 years, 10 years. Don't. That's my advice. It costs you $0 because you shouldn't do it. Riley says, if you could take over a ride or park to change it, what would you take over? The same thing I've been talking about forever since this Fox acquisition, Sunnydale Land, guys. Just give me my Buffy world. I need, like, if there's anything I'm as obsessed about as I am Disney, it's Buffy. So just make it happen. Hire us, Bob. Hey, Christine, what's your favorite area? Ambience music, Main Street, Epcot. Ooh, so I'm a person who loves listening to the tunnel music in Space Mountain, as a lot of people do. Find it very calming. I actually like Epcot Future World. I like the super 80s, like loops and stuff. I can listen to them all the time. I hope they never change. Like, I don't care how like futuristic Future World actually becomes. I hope they never change the 80s music. Pixie says, do you like pin trading? And if you do, what do you know about it? So fun fact, some of you guys know this. If you haven't watched the video, I made a video a long time ago that I used to be a cast member. Here in New York, we had a World of Disney on Fifth Avenue. And the last 8 months or so that I was working there, I was trained and worked in the pin section. And I used to help run pin events every Saturday. And that was kind of my specialty there. I haven't really been into it since I left being a cast member, and this was many years ago. But I do have quite a good knowledge of it and a good, like, behind-the-scenes knowledge of it from all of my training. I think it's really cool. I feel like it's not as big as it used to be, but you still see those people in Epcot that have, like, the big binders and just sit there all day trading. So there's still people who are, like, super into it. But I never traded. I liked to collect some of certain characters I loved, but not with the idea of trading. Lynn says, how much would it cost to eat at Pecos Bill every day? Also $0 because I feel like it's never open. I'm just saying. Riley says, what's your favorite smell at Disney? I think it's the water. It's the treated water. On Splash, on Pirates. It's just like an instant bring me to Disney smell. Courtney says, did you ever happen to have a favorite pin? I always really liked the special holiday ones. I'm a big sucker for Halloween. So when they would put out like Nightmare Before Christmas pins and stuff like that, like I just get excited to see the new ones every year because I just love Halloween. Leia says, if you could move one attraction from Disneyland to Disney World, what would you choose? I said this earlier, but it'd be Radiator Springs Racers 100%. Gamer King Connor says, what land in Magic Kingdom needs a complete refurb? Tomorrowland? I mean, I don't know if complete, but I think there's definitely things that need to change in it. I mean, we've got Stitch closing down, so now we need to put something there. I'm not a really big fan of the Speedway. I think we can be using that space for something so much better. Buzz Lightyear is getting kind of old. I don't know. I think we could do something more with Tomorrowland. PK421 says, did you ever encounter counterfeit pins? We did. And we had to learn how to spot them. It had to do with like how it felt, the weight, the stamps on the back, like there were specific ways you could tell if there was counterfeit pins. Unfortunately, you can't really call a person out. That wasn't part of our training. Our training was never to be like, this guy's trying to trade counterfeit pins. Like, we still kind of had to take them, but we would then note this for in the future and try to avoid trading with those people. But it's tough. Like, as a cast member, you want to make the guest happy, and you don't want to make a scene, and you know, so we had to tread lightly with that kind of stuff. What's an attraction you think deserves a movie? That's a good one. I would like to see a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad movie. I think there's a cool backstory there, which they've touched on in the comic books, and that would be kind of fun. Okay, this is going to be my last question from Andrew, who says, going backwards. Lynn, who says, what Disney hotel would you live in for a whole year? Polynesian. Polynesian, hands down, my favorite hotel. It's right by Magic Kingdom. It's absolutely beautiful. If I could live in one of the bungalows that are like over the water, I would 100% do that. Yeah, Put me there for a whole year. Would never get sick of it. I've got the beach. I've got the luau. I've got Ohana. I've got Kona Cafe. I'm good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching my first live stream. This has been so much fun, and it's making me want to definitely do it again. I'm probably going to do these once a month. I feel like that's a good plan. So I'd love to see you back in the future. We'll always have a topic to talk about, and I'll always be open for question and answers. I think this is the best way to do the question and answer video format in the future. But thank you so much. This has been a blast. I'm so happy you guys all showed up. And as usual, have a great rest of the day. Bye.